Understanding the mysterious this keyword in JavaScript can be the key to unlocking the true power of object-oriented programming. If you can stay until the end of this video, I can assure you will be ready to answer all your interview questions around this. Value of this can be affected by various function invocation types like function invocation, method invocation, constructor invocation, indirect invocation, arrow function invocation. Let's understand different invocation types one at a time. Function invocation. In JavaScript, you can define a function and call it with multiple arguments. This is called function invocation. Value of this is a global object or window object in case of function invocation. If you have used useStrict, value of this will be undefined. Method invocation. When you define an object with a method inside it, invoking the method is called method invocation. When invoking a method on an object, value of this is an object that owns the method. And this will be same when you create an object using object.create method or using ES6 class syntax. A common trap with the method invocation is thinking that the value of this is the same in an inner function as in the outer function. The value of this in an inner function depends on its own invocation type, but not on the outer function's this value. To make this to have a desired value, modify the inner functions as arrow function or change its this value by indirect invocation using call or apply. I'll be talking about arrow functions and direct invocation using call apply later in the video. A method can be extracted from an object into a separate variable. When the method is called alone, detached from the original object, this points to the global window object. Hence, when you call a detached method in setTimeout function, you see this is pointing to the global object. To fix this, you can use bind method to modify this value. Constructor invocation. When you define an object with a constructor method, invoking the method is called constructor invocation. The value of this inside constructor invocation is the newly created object. A common pitfall with the constructor function is if you omit the new keyword and return this from method, this will point to the window object. Indirect invocation. Functions in JavaScript are first-class objects, which means they got methods too. Call, apply, and bind are used to invoke the function with a configurable this value. The indirect invocation is useful when a function should be executed with a specific this value. In this example, we are calling greet method using person object as this value, passing message as an argument. Same can be done using apply, but arguments needs to be passed in an array. You can use bind function to configure this value. It returns a function which later can be called. Arrow functions. Arrow functions in JavaScript are shorthand way of writing functions introduced in ES6, which simplify the syntax of function expressions. The arrow function doesn't create its own execution context, but takes this from the outer function where it is defined. So in this example, setTimeout calls the arrow function with the same this value as the increment method. As seen, the arrow function inherits the value of this from the function where it is defined. You need to be careful when defining arrow functions using prototype object. This example defines a method increment on a class counter using an arrow function. Since increment is an arrow function and is defined in the global context, it has this as a window object. So, if you're confused, what is the value of this at any place? Just ask yourself, how is the function invoked? Is it a function invocation, method invocation, constructor invocation, or indirect invocation? And if it's an arrow function, where does the arrow function defined? I hope after watching this video, you have become this expert and solve these problems in an easy way in an interview. Thanks for watching.